Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Adam. You're watching Unlimited Options Investing. And in this video, I want to talk about where I think a lot of opportunity is moving forward, specifically the small caps that we've been talking on the channel about for the past few months now. And they're just going lower and lower and lower. Specifically, why we're looking at small caps are the valuations, as we are now reaching levels that we've only reached a couple of times in the past decade. That doesn't happen very often. So we can see with the large caps, the S&P 500, for example, we're now trading at a forward PE of about 20.7. So although we aren't at the very high that we've been trading in recent history, we are pretty high, especially for where we've been over the last 2 decades from the dot-com bubble. And that's a little bit scary. However, it is a different time. But valuations are valuations. These numbers don't lie. Statistics don't lie. You take them with a grain of salt, but you also have to take into consideration what levels we're trading at right now. Whereas when it comes to the mid caps, it's much more reasonable, and even with the small caps, even more reasonable, as we're pretty much reaching decade lows, other than, let's say, the March crash of 2020, where that was just a sharp blip and then everything recovered very quickly. We've been actually sustaining these lows, and in my opinion, this could prove to be a great opportunity moving forward. And specifically, I want to take a look at the IWM, or the Russel 2000, which is an index that makes up the smallest 2,000 companies in the Russell 3000 index. And although this isn't an index that I would hold necessarily for the long term, I think that valuations are starting to get really silly, and this could make for a very strong trade over the upcoming month to few months, to swing trade at least. If you do want to hold it long term, that's great, but the way I look at it is if a company succeeds in the Russell 2000, it's eventually going to be graduating to that next level, to the mid caps and the large caps. So you're not going to hold on to those same companies for a long time, as the ones that are going to succeed are eventually going to graduate onto bigger and better things. So we can see pretty much for most of the year, this one has been trading sideways in our channel, anywhere between about 210 all the way up to about 232. And about a month and a half ago, we actually broke out of that channel, and things were looking, finally, the Russell 2000 is going to break out. We're going to reach new all-time highs. Awesome. But what happened? We broke out and then we pulled back, which isn't necessarily unexpected, but then we just kept dipping lower and lower back to the bottom of our channel again. And that's no good. What we wanted to see was a breakout, a pullback to these moving averages, maybe even the middle point, and then breaking out again. But that isn't exactly what we've seen yet. Today being Tuesday, we have a green candle, and that is encouraging. If we continue getting a little bit more green, that could signify that we are reaching a potential bottom, especially with the RSI, which as of yesterday was under 30 at 24, and now we're back above those oversold levels, barely at about 32, 34 of an RSI. And this expands further than just the index. If the index starts to rip higher, if you have any small cap stocks, anything under, let's say, $5 billion of a market cap, and the index starts to rip higher, there's a pretty decent chance that that small cap company is also going to reap the benefits of the other small cap companies also going up at the same time. Now, if this index is going up and your small cap stocks aren't, then maybe the stocks you're in has nothing to do with valuation. It's more about the fundamental of the company. But every stock is different. Every company is different. There's so many different factors that go into stock investing that you can't just say, oh, it's because of this or because of that. It could be a mixture of things, or Wall Street just doesn't like your stock for whatever reason, or it's just not its time yet, or maybe you need patience. It could be anything. But more so when it comes to risk reward of these stocks right now at these levels, if you're into small cap stock investing, you could be looking at a lot more potential reward than there is downside from these points right now. Because even if these stocks go down lower and lower and lower, they're becoming that much more attractive in the short, medium, and long term. Especially as the S&P and the NASDAQ have been doing so well this 2021. It feels like investors are flocking to these mega cap companies because everything else is just getting sold to pieces, because now profits matter. Whereas a year ago, people wouldn't care whether a company was profitable or had zero revenue. It was just going up. Momentum was pushing everything higher. Sentiment was very strong. Ever since that vaccine news back in November of last year, December, January, and then February, that bubble popped, and then all super speculative names just went down the drain pretty much. Whereas those big mega cap companies in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ were pretty much afloat or did very well this past year. So I want to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think now is the time to be putting your money where your mouth is and buying these small cap companies? Or are you just staying away, putting your money into the S&P 500 or big mega cap stocks and just leaving it to the big dogs for the long term and not even worrying about the smaller companies? Because once sentiment does eventually come back into these companies, and I believe that it will, I think it's much easier to go from 1 billion to 2 billion than it is from 1 trillion to 2 trillion. It doesn't nearly take as much money for these companies to fly, which is why they're so exciting in the short term when they are going up. So let me know in the comments below. As always, subscribe, like, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.